Let's have a look at our charge cooler components. This charge cooler being for the XE, the newer XF X260 that is, and the new Jaguar F-Pace, or supercharged models. So we've got our performance charge cooler radiator, which is solid aluminium and over twice as thick as the standard one to give extra cooling. Then comes with some longer stainless steel bolts and some spacers to bring the bracketry further out. You can use the spacers or washers or a combination of both if you so wish. We do away with the quick release cooling pipe connections and we go back to the old reliable performance silicone rubber hoses with Jubilee clips, and you have some joiner pieces to be able to cut these to the correct size and join it to the standard cooling system on the vehicle. You're going to remove the front bumper to gain access to the Supercharger's charge cooler radiator. So here we have the front bumper removed, and on this car the very front radiator is the air conditioning radiator known as the air condenser. On the older model Jaguars, such as the Jaguar XF X250, the Jaguar XK, the XJ, and the F-Type, the Supercharger charge cooler radiator is the one at the very front. On the newer models, such as this XE, the newer shaped XF X260, and the F-Pace, this front radiator is for the air conditioning. So we actually need to get this out of the way to be able to access the charge cooler radiator to replace it for our uprated one. Now we've got a couple of options here. Okay, so the air conditioning system, including this radiator, is full of high pressure gas refrigerants. Okay, so that needs to be drained using a proper machine, and then it's safe to undo the pipes, and then once it's reassembled you would have it refilled full of that correct gas using a machine, again, i.e. at a proper kind of garage repair place. Or another option is we remove some more components to just move this front radiator out of the way enough to gain access to our charge cooler radiator behind it, leaving the pipes connected. So that's what we're going to do on this one. So we're going to remove the headlamps, these slam panels here, and some of this air ducting. Okay, so let me show you what we've removed to get this far. So we've removed the headlights, the bumper, this top slam panel piece, and some air ducting that sits there. We could remove this piece, and I think I'm going to remove it just to give better video access, but we should have enough room just like that to access our radiators that are just there. So you've removed that slam panel, a couple of pieces of plastic cowling around the radiator, the air ducting, the front headlamps around here, and of course the bumper. So on this Jaguar XE, obviously different model years, different models, different countries may have some differences. You have 2 bolts in each bumper corner and a bolt just behind the plastic wheel arch liner here. 3 bolts along the bottom and a row of bolts along the top with a single clip in the middle. As you can see, the holes are elongated, so you have adjustment on these bumpers to help you line up the panels how you want. If you want them to go back in the same place you took them apart, I suggest putting a marking around them to ensure they go back into the same place. On the right hand side of the car you have the headlamp washer jet pipes, and on the left hand side of the car you have the electrical plug connections. I've also removed that panel just to make it easier for you guys to see what's going on in here. It wasn't actually that much more work to remove it if you did want to remove it, There's 4 Allen key bolts on each side, 2 top, 2 bottom. It was a little bit tight where it sits, it just needed a gentle tap with a rubber mallet. So now I've got myself a clean container. I'm going to drain the antifreeze, so I'm going to remove this bottom hose here. So as we can see here, the air conditioning radiator and the charge cooler radiator behind it are held on using these 3 plastic brackets with bolts here. So our newer, thicker charge cooler means these radiators will come out further this way, meaning we need to install our spacers, longer bolts, washers if required, and possibly trim some of the plastic trims if they interfere with that at all on your particular model of car. So I've removed the left hand, as you look at the front of the vehicle, lower and upper bracket, the right hand bracket, and this little bleed pipe from the radiator that went on there. And I've removed, for better access, this lower fan cowling piece. And to save you the difficulty I had, the hidden clips on this side are in those 2 holes there. And then that piece there. So these are the kind of quick release connections that come on the car. So we're going to remove these that go to our charge cooler and install our performance rubber hoses with Jubilee clips. It's a much more old-fashioned but reliable way of doing things. For example, here is one of these new modern quick release connectors, and look, it's leaked. And so is this one over here. But if we look at an old-fashioned crimped on rubber hose, there are no leaks. It's not normal for these to leak, but this is proof that they're not quite as strong as a clamp-on rubber hose. So as you can see, we've carefully tied the air conditioning radiator just enough to one side with the pipes still connected, and that's given us now access to our original Supercharger charge cooler radiator. So it looks like to be able to get the new charge cooler in, we're just going to have to trim this lower plastic bracket here, just a very small amount. So there's the new Wraptor Performance charge cooler radiator installed. So that's the second one in the stack of radiators. This one is for the air conditioning. So the 3 brackets, 2 on this side, 1 in the middle on that side, we've spaced outwards using the plastic spacers supplied in the kit. We recommend you use these and or a combination of washers until the correct distance is set. The kit comes with new longer stainless steel bolts as well. What I mean by the correct distance is that these brackets are holding the radiator stack tight enough where they don't wobble and rattle around, but they're not too tight where these brackets are under tension and being bent over. We don't want that either. Okay, so that bracket there, that bracket there, and that bracket there. Now, the coolant pipes, we've replaced the quick release connection ones, cut these down to the desired size, the pipes that come with the kit, reinstalled this foam protector and installed them using regular Jubilee clips. The same with the bottom one here. You can see that, another 90-degree piece on this one. Each model may differ slightly. It may be a straight piece rather than a 90-degree piece, but there's enough pipe in the kit to sort out whatever you need. I recommend that you measure and cut carefully. Do not cut too much off the pipe because obviously you can't add the material back on after. So it's better to cut off too little than too much pipe. This is the bleed point, and the pipe swaps over from the old charge cooler straight onto that one as before. Here's the bleed screw pipe swapped over, and now it's time to install the plastic cowlings that go around the radiator stack. So there's all the radiator plastic cowlings going back together, and the metal slam bars. The only thing we had to do on this one to get the plastics back on is we removed this piece here that goes on the bottom right corner there. You could go trying to skim it down, but it was easy just to remove it, keep it aside, and then it can always be put back to standard in the future. And then we had to put a little notch in here just so this air conditioning pipe can go through it. Apart from that, everything seems to be going back together just fine. All the other plastics down here and down the other side fit just fine. So with it all back together, we fill and bleed the cooling system. Easiest way to do these vehicles is using a vacuum bleeder and a compressed air line. You can do it the old school manual way, but there's a lot of bleed points on it. There's one down there. There's one hidden on the little flexi hose. I've left this loose for you to see. Under there, see? There's one over here. And these little pipes spurring off various parts of the engine should bleed the last bits of air out back to the header tank and out the cap. Anyway, it's a good idea to pressure test the cooling system and check that there are no leaks on our new parts or anything that we've disturbed. You run the vehicle up, keeping an eye on our underbonnet levels, our temperature, any warning lights, any abnormal noises. Just go over everything that you've looked at, check there's nothing fouling or rubbing. And then I would perform a road test, being careful, light throttle at first, gradually increasing the amount of power you ask for while still monitoring all of those things. Okay. Here's all of our old original parts that we've replaced. So there's the old Supercharger charge air cooler radiator and its quick release fittings and clips, and of course the offcuts of the rubber pipes supplied in the kit to replace these, cut to the correct size. The bolts holding the radiator pack, and this bit of plastic as part of the radiator cowling.